Okay, so the product includes a zipped folder. If you unzip the folder, you should end up with something like this. You can see there are four different documents in there. We've got the PDF version, which is the kind of printable version with notes. We've got the printable version without notes. We've got the digital version, which is a PowerPoint document, and we've also got the teacher guidance. So if I take you through, let's start with one without notes, just so you can get an idea of the of what the document looks like. It starts off with obviously a cover. You don't have to print that, but it might be useful depending on how you're using it in the classroom, particularly if you're printing it off in one big block. It has a notes page. I really recommend using perhaps video learning for this. I think that's how I'm envisaging it's going to be most useful. So I like the Econ Plus style videos, and this would be quite a good way of tracking students through that, of supporting them through that. The helpful playlists that I'd recommend for this would be the Year 2 micro playlist, and there's a labour market, distribution of income, wealth and poverty playlist. And they're roughly in the same order that those playlists occurred, no matter which video source you're using. But that is probably the most useful form there. This does have 59 different topics in it. So there is a contents page. Students can tick off when they've looked at a video maybe, or when they've revised it. You can be quite flexible about how you use those topics. If you want to have a look at the full list of topics, they are on the product description. And now this is showing as two per screen, but actually that's just the way that my computer does it. You can see that they are printed as one per page. But just going back into that two per screen view, just so you can get an idea of what the notes frames look like. So they're quite varied, as you can see, which I think makes it a bit more interesting. I've also tried to think about how that information is best organised for our students. You'll see that there is only one page per topic, and that's kind of deliberate. Obviously, that's not, doing one page per topic isn't going to be enough for all of their learning. You are going to need to supplement that. And you can either do that by having this document as a kind of separate almost revision or flip learning, whatever kind of pack, and then having their separate class notes. Or I will show you in a moment there is a version that has a notes page in between each page, so that then you could have kind of the essential information right on one page and then the additional information on the next. That would be particularly good if you've got quite a wide mix of learners there. I do think these sorts of things are really, really helpful for the lower end, because it's quite unintimidating. It's very clear as to what they have to do. It's very unambiguous. And it does help with that note-taking element. Taking notes is a skill. And actually, it's not always the weakest economists who are the weakest note takers. So I think it probably helps in both of those circumstances for both students who are weak in their understanding of economics, as well as those who are maybe weaker in their executive functioning skills, because it does kind of target where they need to be writing, and what they need to be focusing their attention on. But I think it probably would work across the board in general. You can make it work for revision, so each student has a clear set of notes. As they approach the end of the topic. You could use it for a recurring homework, so you only have to set the homework once, and they know that at the end of the lesson they go and find the appropriate video and recap that. Equally, they could do it before the lesson as a type of flip learning, or you could print it out right at the start of the year, give it to students, and then they've got something meaningful for cover, or for additional work. So there are lots of ways you can use this. I would recommend printing out all in one go, because I think then you get greater benefits from it in terms of how it affects your time. But equally, you could pick out single pages as students go along. So that's the first document. So that's the one without notes. If we then look with notes, so this is just the version with notes. I won't show you the whole thing, but I'll just show you what the note pages look like. So in between each page, there is also a notes page for additional notes, and also a space for questions. So that's again going to be useful if you're using it for flip learning. They can note any questions down, or if they're doing it for independent revision. Or you could use it as your class notes, where they can add in extra notes from class, so that you're kind of distinguishing between the essential information and then the additional information. And they've got that between each page. So you can print that either double-sided, so that one side's with the notes, one side's with the kind of core bits, or obviously single-sided as works for you. Okie dokie. And then finally we've got the digital version. So this is a PowerPoint version. I will in a moment explain how that works with if you're a Google school. As you can see, it looks fairly similar until we get to about this point. And there are two key differences here. You'll notice that this isn't editable in terms of that I can't change the questions, I can't change the boxes, I can't change the grids. So all of the pages that you've seen on the other documents are embedded into the background. They're flattened, so students can't accidentally mess with them. And if you're setting digital work, I'm sure you'll know that it's very easy for students to get worked up about the formatting. So here we've tried to make that as easy as possible. So here they can type their answers. So what is the law of diminishing marginal returns? They could write their answer there. But they can't change the question, they can't change the boxes, they can't change the fundamental elements. So you get to retain that structure like you would with a printed worksheet, but they can still type their answers. And that means particularly if you're distance learning or you want to check the homework online, or I'm writing it in the time of Corona, in which lots of people are doing virtual learning. It also includes drag and drop elements, so you might want to, so students can drag the right elements to the right places. So that, because obviously it's very difficult for students to draw graphs on the computer, and that is one of the elements that one of the difficulties that I think we face with online learning is that we focus so heavily on graphs. So there's a lot of drag and drop in terms of the graphs. There's and then they can also type within boxes, and they can just they can fill that in nice and easily, and that's all the way through. There aren't drag and drop elements for everything because obviously some of it is just writing, but it means that they could do it completely on a computer without needing to handwrite or draw anything. Okay, and then finally, the other item that you do get in the download is the teacher guidance, and I just want to draw your attention to a couple of things here. I'm not going to scroll all the way down because it does have the voucher code on it. But towards the bottom is the Google Drive link, which is just here. I'm going to display that now. So it does come with a Google Drive link, which means that you can then access any updates. It also makes it easy to share on Google Classroom. I have had to change the Google version a little bit because obviously you'll know that when you upload PowerPoints to Google Slides, sometimes it takes a bit of editing. So I've done all that editing, so it is ready to go for you. Down the bottom of the sheet, I'm not going to show it, but there's also a voucher code so that if you purchase one notebook and then decide that actually you probably like some others in the series, that you can get a discounted price on that. Because I imagine that people will want to have a look at one first and kind of get a feel for it before committing to other ones. So that's another option as well. There is a voucher code at the bottom. Please don't forget to use that if you have got one. It'd be a shame to miss out on that. If you're a Microsoft school, obviously the PowerPoint will work. It'll also work, I think, fairly well to just import the PDFs into OneNote, and that'll work equally as well. So you do have lots of options there. So hopefully it's quite a flexible resource in how you use it, and hopefully should save a lot of time as well.